Welcome to the channel. So in this video, we are actually going to talk about a very lucrative business that I feel that I am not done. I'm going to go back to it. But I failed so badly at it that I even forgot that I started that business. You're going to get a lot of tips from this video. You're going to understand where I went wrong. And you know that it's really not a big problem at all. Except I got distracted. My focus went elsewhere. So I will go back. But I failed so miserably that I forgot about it. I am sharing this failure with you so you can get a lesson without the scar. If you've been following me for a while, I'm sure you might have heard me saying that I started a pineapple farm at some point, right? Yes, I did. In the year 2019, I came to Ghana and I spotted an opportunity in farming pineapples. Agriculture is a lucrative business in Africa at large because despite all this, herbal land and vast land that we have, we import a lot of our foods. We're going to dive into that, but let's look at where I feel that most of the people are, interested in diving into agriculture. Most of you guys watch me. So I want you to know where I went wrong at so you can get the lesson without a scar, because the lesson with the scar comes with some painful lessons and, losing money and potentially getting discouraged. So I spotted the opportunity in 2019. It's basically a farmer who has been trying to do this pineapple farm on a large scale, right? I'm an investor, and if the numbers make sense, I'm in. And the number did what made sense. So we started off with 2 acres, right? And I rented the land. When you start in a pineapple farm at fresh, definitely you are going to run at a loss for the first year, right? Because the suckers that you are buying, the little pineapple thing that you are buying to plant it, is quite expensive. So the first year when you harvest it, you might break even or you're going to go in a loss. You're not going to make much. Taking care of pineapples is not cheap. Everything kind of went well, right? I didn't register the company at the time. I was doing a very old school way because, I let this farmer have some sort of autonomy. I like working with people and letting them have their freedom. So he helped me, get the pineapple to a factory, right? They have factories that make like pineapple juice and all that stuff. And in the beginning of it, they will make sure that you are using the right chemicals or not using chemical at all. They have their specifications. And if you qualify for that, you follow their guidelines, then they are known as the off-takers. So when the pineapple is ripe, they just come and do what? Take it. So in the pineapple, they have 3 categories: Sugarloaf, Smooth Cayenne, and MD2. And I think the factory wanted Sugarloaf, and I had MD2 and then the Sugarloaf, right? So I had to discontinue the MD2, so that's wasted suckers. I think the factory did come for the Sugarloaf, and the MD2 I had to sell it to the market. And it wasn't easy to sell it to the market. I didn't have my supply chain figured out. That's one issue. And we should have done more research because I wasn't really all in on this. I just visited. The opportunity came in. I took it. I invested like $3,500 in this because we rented the land. So it was more of like buying the suckers and the chemicals and all that. But I should have done more research. What kind of the pineapple, like what kind is this factory into, right? Because now if I would have done that feasibility test and that study, I would have realized that this factory is only interested in Sugarloaf. Therefore, I was not going to buy the MD2 to begin with. But we did it after the fact. So that was one failure there. You don't want to do that. If you want to dive into a business, you want to do your thorough research before actually diving into it. And we knew that there were off-takers. The guy told me, I didn't know much about this business. He had been in it. He's seen people do it, but he's a bit old school. And it didn't occur to him to make sure to ask these people what kind of pineapple. Is it Sugarloaf, MD2, or Smooth Cayenne that this, off-takers love? He didn't ask that. What he cared about is once we buy it, the chemical specification, that one he was aware of it. So you go to them in the beginning and then, they guide you through it. So that was one mistake there. Therefore, the MD2, we had to sell it to the market and, we lost some money there. To make a long story short, I saw the long-term perspective of this business. Because once you buy the sucker once and you harvest it, it multiplies times 3. So for example, if I planted 24,000 pineapples to begin with. But unfortunately, half of it was the MD2, which we discontinued. Though the MD2 would have multiplied times 3 or times 4 in suckers. Therefore, I could have planted 48 or 36,000 pineapples. But because I had to discontinue all of that, I had to give away the suckers. We gave it away because of what you're about to hear. Now, the Sugarloaf, which is what the off-takers took, now has multiplied times 3. So you can now plant 36,000 pineapple. And at this time, you do not have to buy their suckers. So it's at this point that you start making money. It multiplies. How profitable this can be in the long run by multiplying the suckers without buying more suckers and expanding out. Though I ran at a loss for the first year, it wasn't much, and I immediately spotted opportunity. I even did some calculations and was like, within 7 years, if I do expand and keep expanding, I'm gonna make millions of dollars a year. And it was quite amazing on a spreadsheet. Right? I'm looking at a spreadsheet multiplying. Like this year, I went from from 12 to 36, from 36 to this. The numbers were so good. I was in my head. I was so happy. Right? That's before COVID. 2020. While COVID was ongoing and I was working my butt off. Right before COVID started, I did my 3 months internship with KPMG where I was working my butt off, working 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours a week. It was crazy. It was this very money that I haven't lost, but I haven't taken possession of the land yet. So that's where my failure came in. Since I was planting on this rented land, which is a 2 acres, and me seeing the potential of how lucrative this business can be, and me knowing Ghanaians being so greedy sometimes and try to pull one on you, I decided to be prudent with my decisions and try to secure a property of my own that I can move my farm to. Because if I'm renting and I'm doing well, then the guy can say that I'm not renting the land anymore. And what do I do with the suckers? So me being prudent with my thinking, I started scouting out for land. It's when my farmer, also kind of like my cousin, said that he knows his family, nothing can go wrong. And they have land and they need the money for a funeral. So they're trying to sell some of the land. Now, mind you, I was slaving working at KPMG in New York at this time. I asked my cousin. This was my first big purchase, actually. Aside from the land that I built my house on, I haven't really bought any properties after that. This land purchase was going to cost quite a bit of money. I was building my house at the time as well. I was tight. The trading money, the stock market money was not in yet. That came in during COVID. This is pre-COVID, a month or two before COVID. And this family desperately needed the money for the funeral. That's what they're trying to sell. And I had to come through. And I had stretch marks on my brain thinking about how I'm going to raise this money to pay these guys. It was my hard-earned money. When I say hard-earned, guys, it wasn't a joke. Hard-earned, working 18 hours days. I ended up buying 15 acres. Now that 15 acres was going to cost me $32,000 at a time. Right? That's the deal I got. Now my land is in Pokrom, which is in Aburi. We did a search and it was a virgin land. Now, this is where my real estate experience and education will come in. Virgin land, they didn't have any documents. It's just that people know that this land belongs to them. It does belong to them. But unfortunately, I'm in court right now and we're going to dive into it. I'm not the one in court. They are in court and I'm on standby. They've given me the go-ahead that I can take possession of land. This is way before my car wash issue. They got so messy. So let's really just dive into it. But family issues can be in court for a very long time. We are getting to 5 years now since this case has been in court with this family. I did a search. It was virgin land. No documentation to protect it, such as judgment or something. Nothing. It was a virgin land. And cousin saying he knows his family and all that. They wrote me the indenture and we decided to, thank God, go on a payment plan, right? Go on a payment plan. So I didn't pay all the $32,000 outright. As a matter of fact, by the time we realized that we are in trouble, when I did the math, I really paid about $13,000. And we did the documentation ourselves. It was signed off. We had proof. We took pictures when I divided. We took the money to them because they were really old school. We had to give them cash. We took pictures, let them sign stuff, use their thumb. We got all the necessary evidence that we needed. And while we were going through the registration, we came to realize that the registration has been blocked by a company that I'm not going to mention the name on here for the sake of legal reasons. So we approached the family, and that's when they told us that they were in court with some family or the member. This land wasn't part of it, but they later on added it to it because they came to find out that this lady has, sold the land to some guy. To make a long story short, this whole thing became a big mess, and I decided to be on standby for them to finish their issues, and I'll take back the possession of the land. As time went on, I realized that this case is taking too long, so I'm just going to take possession of the land, and whenever they are done, I'm going to register it. Looks like the best way to move forward. But then I got distracted with other activities, such as my car wash issue, me going to court for that, and being in the real estate game myself, being involved in a whole bunch of lands now. I think it's about time that I go back on the land, though, It's in court. There is no injunction on the land. When there is an injunction on the land, that means nobody is permitted to go there. We are all, injuncted from going to the land. There is no injunction. The other party's person is working somewhere, working on the land that they are fighting over. So it was preventing me from going to work. So I'm thinking about, jumping into the agriculture game yet again. And doing business in Ghana could be really lucrative. But what I realized is, I think my previous video I mentioned this, is when you actually spend the money, you are more susceptible to making a lot of mistakes, right? And this is one of them. And I just want to share the lesson without a scar. You have to be careful, especially when it comes to land purchases. The lessons and the experience that you get by being on the ground and being connected and knowing how the game is played is totally different. Because since I came to Ghana, I actually, came in the game and I'm like on the ground and I know what's going on. The land situation is not scary at all. It is really not scary at all for me. But if you are new in this market, it could be quite scary and you can easily lose your money. So my advice to everybody watching this channel is to take your time with things, especially, when it comes to pouring a lot of money into things. Just take your time. I've done my research. I'm still doing my research on agriculture. And I know that we import a lot of food, not just in Ghana, but Africa at large, which makes no sense, absolutely no sense, because we have the land and we have people, unemployed people, to do just that. And I've been distracted because I've been busy with my real estate stuff. But, I need to go back on the agriculture hunt and start something small. So I really wanted to share this with you. If you want to get into agriculture in Ghana, it is a lucrative business, or anywhere else in Africa. I've seen the numbers. It's just quite unfortunate that I found myself in this land issue. And luckily, I'm not the one in court. So I'm not spending any money on lawyer fees and all that. But it's quite annoying. I've been on hold since 2020. And my focus has been elsewhere. I haven't lost the land at all. These people are not strangers. I just wanted them to finish the whole thing before I go back on the land and do anything. But at this point, it's not like I'm building a house. I'm just farming. So I'm going to go back and try to start something. The pineapple needs a lot of attention. And the farmer that I was working with, honestly, the way he has handled the situation since he went to court, not even picking my call anymore, right? A family member. He's the one who led us to the family. Kind of very annoying. So I don't think I can work with him moving forward. I'm looking into something that doesn't require too much attention, right? Like plantains could be really lucrative every year. Once you plant it once, every year, it replenishes and you cut it. It doesn't require that much attention, doesn't require that much money, and it multiplies like crazy. So I'm looking at plantain. It's a big options. I'm also looking at bananas. Right, that's a good one as well. Once you plant it once, you take good care of it, it will forever, replenish. Pineapple is lucrative, but it does require your attention. It does require attention. And then there are other crops that you can easily, dive into that doesn't take that long for you to harvest, right? Like tomatoes, peppers. And people make a lot of money doing that, right? Tomato, peppers, okra, cabbage, carrots. Right? We eat down here. They import a lot of these things. So it's incumbent on you to find who your buyer is. I think the overarching message that I have for this is make sure you know your market. Do the research beforehand. Now, I'm a Ghanaian. Like, I'm on the ground. I've made the right connection. So I could just plant stuff. And before it comes out, I already have a deal with some restaurant because I go there all the time. I can go talk to the manager and all these things, right? Before whatever you planted is ripe or is ready, have your buyer on standby because these stuff are perishable. That was one mistake. Yes, we had the off-takers, which is the factory that was buying the pineapple, but we made a mistake because we didn't do our due diligence right to know that they don't like MD2, they only like Sugarloaf, and we did half and half. So the MD2, we had to sell it to the market, and they bargained the hell out of your stuff, and and all that. We lost money there, but the factory, when they came for it, it was straight up with it, took your money, stress-free. And if I would have known better, I would have done my research and know that this factory wants just Sugarloaf and therefore only plant Sugarloaf for them, and knowing that this thing is sold immediately when it's done. That's one. Two, be careful with your land purchases and take your time. The land game, you're going to get some punches in the face. you can only get better with experience. You're gonna get knocked out from time to time. Just don't give up, right? I've had maybe 2 issues. The first one was a car wash, which was a perfect sale. I just had to go through the Ghana way. Somebody wanted to bully me and I had to stand up for it. So the person that they took to court actually died and somebody took over. The case is dragging on. When it's family, he said, she said, my grandfather, this, it can take a very long time. I'm coming back, definitely trying to get access to the land again and try to do something on there. So if you're looking into agriculture, just do your research, do your research, see who your buyer is, and be careful with the land. Those are your biggest risk.